I had a moment back in 2018, right after I graduated college. I was flying over the Grand Canyon in a Skyhawk, and just looking over the Grand Canyon through the viewfinder, I was like, I cannot believe that, like, this is my life right now.
I first heard this from my grandpa, but yeah, I just love this. Like, you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, you know? It's one of my favorites.
That's the name of the game, man. Do what you love and you'll never have to work.
I also very much so see the Checkride as an opportunity to learn. I ate my share of humble pie this morning with my docking, which it was passable, but I had to hop out on the float real quick and run to the bow of the float and grab the cleat. I'm Josh, a pilot and flight instructor who loves the sky, sharing it with those around me and using it to see the world from a new perspective. Flying can seem super complex, but I make it my mission to promote safe practices while enjoying the beauty this world has to offer. Subscribe to climb into the cockpit on future adventures. This is Aviation 101.
0991 New Orleans clearance, clear to the Foley Airport via as filed. On departure, maintain 2,000 feet.
Information Charlie, time 1800, Zulu, wind 190 at 5, visibility 10, sky clear. Temperature 16, 2.6, altimeter 2990. Paper runway 19, right traffic. All other reports are requested. Contact Tucking to radio 123.6 for traffic advisories. Advise on initial contact. You have Charlie.
After we spent last night gathering our inspiration for our check rides, it's time to head back to base for our final day of training here at Alaska Floats and Skis. This Alaska story began with an airline ride for Chelsea and I up to Anchorage to rendezvous with the rest of our crew before heading to Talkeetna. In part 2, Parker and I ran through some basic landing drills to refresh my memory and get the feel on floats again. Then right after that, Chelsea took her own intro float flight with him to Swan Lake. In part 3, Parker and I went to a remote lake with lots of space to practice the 4 basic techniques I'll be tested on: normal, glassy, confined area, and the power off approach. Part 4 took us into the mountains to put these newly learned skills to the test on some truly confined area lakes. Then in part 5, we all took a break and flew into the Denali Wilderness to take in some of the most spectacular visuals nature has to offer. It's back to the grindstone now, with Daniel and Dave heading into their check rides this morning while Parker and I head out on a mock check ride. Welcome to part 6.
So have y'all ever had anybody like slip and eat it and go into the water?
Oh yeah, it's like a rite of passage for being a float pilot.
Throw prop?
Yeah.
Perfect. Wing right around, you got it.
Water rudder's up.
Yep.
And radio ladder 6 kilo tango clear.
Alright. Aiming for the right side of that peninsula there.
Yep.
Takeoff power is set, first rise. There's the second rise, let it come down on step.
Then a little bit more back pressure right there. Just right there, that's perfect. Yep.
There's 55.
There it goes.
A little sticky.
Yep. Nice, then we'll just kind of like build that airspeed again. We'll kind of climb toward that low-rising terrain.
Yeah.
And Denali is definitely out.
Oh man, yeah. When did you move up here?
I got up here like late April.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Was that right at the tail end of ski season?
Yep. Yeah, lake was still frozen.
Gotcha. It looks like it's right down. And I'm actually starting to see some of those streaks in the water.
Yep.
So that indicates like 7 knots?
Yeah, about 8 to 10.
8 to 10,
it can
okay.
be, if they're starting to form, usually it's around 6 to 7. They're probably like just starting to form. Once they're really foamy and obvious, it's about 8 to 10.
Yeah, it looks like they're just starting.
Yeah, and you'll know too, because the water's texture will get like a much darker looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see them. They're starting.
We'll just make left traffic over here and we'll plan to land to the south.
Alright.
So that's our woods checklist. We've got our abort point named. Our mixture looks good, and I'll test the carb heat here in a minute and continue with the checklist. What kind of landing do you want to do first?
We'll just start with normal landing, okay? We haven't done too many of those, so.
Yeah. Alright, carb heat's good, gas is on the fullest. And then we'll get down here about a beam or touchdown point.
Yeah, you're good where you're at. I'm actually trying to catch up a little closer, so I'll probably slow down here.
Yeah, you can carry some power.
Yeah.
We're not really using the OVR a whole lot yet for the normal. We're just kind of like using the water as our reference.
For sure.
Yep.
Alright, we're going to hold this landing altitude right here.
About 137, 136.
Then we'll just go full power. Once you're kind of settled, then we'll go for a go around. There you go, full power. Let's do it. Very nice. Now we can climb either that way or that way.
Yeah,
No, I think that way usually.
Yeah, I think I'll go left.
A little wider.
For time's sake, we're making these first few landings touch and goes, or on floats we call them splash and goes. And with the normal landing of the mock check ride complete, we're on to demonstrating the confined area landing.
Take a look at final and take a look at our runway.
Yeah, to get with the confined, it's like for the check ride, like that's what we're testing, is just kind of like coming in high on purpose, but in a real situation, you're like hugging the tree line, you know? So like,
Exactly.
It's just for practice purposes why we're doing it.
For sure.
And if we
We're
like
coming
it,
right over the trees here.
Yep.
And then we'll say we cleared the trees, so chop, drop, there's a second notch of flaps. Starting to arrest the descent here.
Yep.
At that landing altitude. Balloon there.
Perfect. Let's go full power. We'll go around.
Down to one notch of flaps.
Yeah, and you can even take off with two, and then just clean up once you're airborne too.
Okay.
2400 RPM.
For the check ride, that's what I would do too. If you did a splash and go with Dawn and you had like 2 notch flaps, I would just leave them.
Okay, just leave it.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a configuration change.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
2400.
Next up, Parker will pull the throttle back to idle on downwind for the power off 180 approach.
Alright, there goes the power, so we're going to get the speed down and immediately start turning toward the lake. Run both the carb heat mags, throttle, primer, and mixture, and we're going to keep that turn coming around.
Yeah, if you don't like it. Yep, if you don't like it, then you can go around. Should be okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to be good. Start to arrest it here. Nice continuous pull.
Just a little bit. There it is, right there. Beautiful. Yep. Full power, go for it. And now we don't have flaps in there right now, so you can pop a notch flaps if you want, but I think we're about to fly anyway.
Yeah, I think we are.
You can even rock a float. There you go.
We're going to do an engine failure as well, and then probably head out after that.
Okay, we just flash a good, so we're behind it.
I didn't turn toward the lake quick enough. I don't think.
Yep, that was what I was going to say too. I think kind of got focused on the flow. Yeah, first thing is like really make sure that turn's coming. Once you're establishing the turn, then go for the flow. Okay, yep. Probably do 2 more laps. We'll do a normal, we'll do a glassy, and then the takeoffs we're going to full stop the next 2, and we'll do a density altitude takeoff and a confined takeoff, and then we'll figure out if we want to head to the beach or we want to just head back.
Okay, sounds good. Alright, we'll be mindful of our abort point. The car feed feels good.
Yeah, it should kind of look like a confined landing when you're coming into the water like that. You should be kind of looking down at the water like you're creeping up against it, and then just round out when it feels like the water's creeping up. Yep.
Okay, to traffic pacer, 77.
Yeah, it's like good. Then you can just kind of leave the power out and just ride it in.
Traffic in sight.
Alright, start arresting that descent.
Mike's coming up overhead, Silking, 2.4.
Watch that landing altitude. Here comes the power. Little balloon. A little hard.
A little back pressure there. Perfect. Cool. We're gonna go back and we'll do a confined takeoff real quick. And then after we do this confined takeoff, we'll do a glassy water landing, full stop.
Okay, radio 4.2.
And then we will do a density altitude takeoff and head back. Or go to the beach, whatever you want to do.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead and pull those rudders up. There's the weather vane. There's the first rise. There's the second rise.
And then back to about 2,000. Yep. There you go. Perfect, and then you can just kind of arrest the porpoise all the way straight. And then we can kind of roll the aileron straight. Yep. And just keep that nose right where it is. And then keep it flat, build the airspeed. That 1 notch will climb out toward the low terrain, and that is a good confined takeoff right there.
Gotcha. Yep. All right, you want to do a Glassy?
Yeah, let's do one more Glassy. We'll do a density altitude takeoff. Okay.
Yeah. All right, we'll square it off. Final looks clear. The lake looks clear. We're going to use this terrain to our advantage. It's real low right there over the LVR, so we'll establish our landing altitude as low as we can for the safety margin there. There's our landing altitude. We're going to set the power right there. Yep.
The wind will push you around a little bit, so just kind of working that power nice and how it needs to be. Perfect. A little back pressure, a little bit more back pressure. There you go. Right there. Beautiful. I'm gonna go pull the power back a little bit. Once we go full power, we'll pull it back to like 2,300 RPM, and then actually we'll probably do 2,200 just because of the fact that we have a decent amount of wind out here.
Okay.
And then just really have to work it off the water. All right. So again, we'll get up on step, and then we'll reduce power to like 2,200, and just try and get it off the water.
Take off power set. There's the first rise. There's the second rise.
Oh, wait, all the way till you're on step. Let's go back to like 22. Maybe right there, that's pretty good. Okay, alright. And then just do what you need to do to try and get airborne.
Alright.
So you might have to rock a float, might have to pop a flap.
We'll go ahead and try to rock a float here.
Yep, then you can pop a flap too to help. We got one float airborne. Once you're airborne, you've got full power back. Anyway, that's kind of the idea though.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, just kind of knowing how it feels when it's a little bit on the lazier side on a hot day.
For sure, and use the tools available to you and know how to use them to get off.
Yep.
Before heading back to base and calling it a day, we have one more place we want to stop. Sarah took me to Swan Lake 2 years ago on my first seaplane flight, and we hung out just long enough to see a moose go for an afternoon dip in the foreground of Denali. And 2 years later, I think it's a good place to wrap up my training just before the seaplane check ride. Okay, so we actually did get a beaching lesson in today, right? Sarah and I stood here 2 years ago, right here on this beach. She took me right here for my discovery flight in an airplane very much like this. It was Sierra Tango, and that's what got me on the kick of float flying, and I said I have got to come back to Alaska to do my float rating. So here we are. Parker says I'm ready for the check ride for some reason, so
Yeah, for some reason. I don't know, not like you did anything right.
found some good skipping rocks and got some amazing footage out here. Denali is just, it's right over the airplane over there. So a little beaching lesson this morning. This is what float flying is all about, right?
Oh, definitely. Best part of it.
Immerses you into the environment that you're training in or flying in, whatever the case may be. You're on the water. We beached here on the land to interact with the environment and just be in it, which is really what it's all about. And of course, we're in Alaska. Just past noon, and it's probably like 65 degrees, 70 degrees out here.
So there was probably not a house for at least a few miles, so we're definitely out here in the middle of nowhere again.
We are out here middle of nowhere, 0 cell service. It's kind of a good place to be. Of course, we've got all our survival equipment, a satellite phone. We're winding down to the end of the training. My check ride's tomorrow.
It's been a blast.
It's been a blast. This is what it's all about. And I know I keep repeating myself. I've been using the word fantastic, absolutely amazing, phenomenal, whatever else I say all the time. But there's really no other words to describe flying in Alaska, especially flying a float plane in Alaska. Awesome place to be. All right, let's hop in the airplane. Lunch is probably on pretty soon.
Tracking airport information, Echo, time 1959er Zulu, wind 190 at 7, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 17, 2.7, altimeter 2989er, Zipper runway 19er, rate traffic. Outlet reports are requested, contact Tucking radio 123.6 for traffic advisories, advise on initial contact, you have Echo.
Gonna do a bit of a confined here too.
Alright, sounds good.
Get notch 2 in there.
And then once we're on, we'll kind of stay up on the step here for a sec.
Okay.
Then we'll step taxi in.
Alright, Tucking in traffic, Tucking radio, 0 whiskey square, please close.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll stay on step, keep coming a little bit further, keep coming, and then right about here you can follow step.
Alright.
Awesome, that was a really nice way to finish up.
Alright, this is right at passage. We're finishing up the lock check ride. You're going to want to poke your head out and look outside the float here in a minute. Now I'm going to make sure. Alright, steer. Now water is up.
Yeah.
I got you.
Alright, yeah. We're gonna hop back in, start it up, and do it again.
Hop back in and go around. Yeah, so what was happening? The wind started grabbing us and Mitch pushed it. No, it's good.
Mock check ride went pretty well, I feel. I was really happy with all my landings, step taxis, and then my docking here was absolutely awful. I pulled the water rudders up to try to get the plane to weather vane into the wind, but I did that a little too soon, lost the water rudder authority, and the plane didn't really continue turning as I wanted it to, so it kind of nosed into the dock and almost bounced off a little bit. We actually hopped in the plane, started up, and went around the little sailboat here and came back around for another try. And my second docking, which was not on camera, of course, was much, much better. Everybody else is coming back from their check rides with Don, saying, that was so fun, that was amazing. Daniel just passed his check ride and he jumped into the lake, and now I think I'm probably gonna have to do that. That's probably an expectation. God, I love Alaska.
Why don't we bring the whole cooler?
I'm done with the Seaplane check ride. I have airplane single engine C added to my commercial pilot certificate. And of course I ate my share of humble pie this morning with my docking, which I wasn't too happy with. You gotta shut down the engine when you're pulling up to the dock so there's not a whirling propeller putting people in danger. So then you gotta kind of judge it right and coast it in, and I botched it a little bit at the end of the check ride, but I still ran out, hopped on the dock, grabbed the plane. I have learned so much about airmanship here at Alaska Floats and Skis. Parker, my instructor, taught me so much and just explained things so well. He was so patient. It's really fun to train with the instructors here because they love it, and it's really fun to take the test with Don because he loves it. But nothing beats the experience of the steps we took to get there, all the training that Parker and I did, going to these awesome mountain lakes, making hard landings, learning hard lessons. I couldn't have asked for better weather here in Talkeetna and for our entire friend group here to take their seaplane check rides. And you can't ask for a better place, a better vibe, a better group of people to go through this rating and go through this type of training than the folks here at Alaska Floats and Skis. Huge congrats to Daniel, Dave, and Kevin also for completing their seaplane ratings while we're here and now. We're all gonna pack up and leave Alaska Floats and Skis. Until next time, I'm definitely gonna be back. We're gonna pack up and leave here and head down to Homer and just have a couple more days in Alaska before Chelsea and I go back down to the lower 48 of just relaxing and hanging out with friends. I absolutely love this place, this state. I love this type of training. I love this entire crew here at Alaska Floats and Skis. Couldn't have asked for a better experience. We all packed up and left Alaska Floats and Skis in the rearview mirror for now. And after Chelsea and I dropped everyone off at the airport, we started our 6-hour drive with world-class views that traverses the length of the Kenai Peninsula to Chris's hometown, Homer, Alaska. Homer is this charming little fishing town with tons of things to do and see. And Chris had one surprise for us that would end up being an incredibly special memory. The last time I was in Alaska, Chris introduced me to the music by Hobo Jim, an Alaskan artist with a folk sound telling stories about his home. He was scheduled to play at a venue in town, and Chris surprised us with tickets to see him live.
On a caribou tundra in the wild barren land, on the fierce Arctic ice where the polar bears stand. So toss the pots over.
4 months after we saw him live in Homer, Hobo Jim lost his fight with cancer, leaving behind an Alaskan legacy in his music. And I'm very grateful Chris's family treated us to this night seeing him live. That will forever be a very special memory. After hanging out with Chris and his family, exploring the town of Homer, going on awesome hikes, and having a midnight bonfire on the beach, it was time for Chelsea and I to pack up and head back to Anchorage to catch our flight to Denver so we could continue our summer-long road trip in the Flight Outfitters and EAA camper trailer. More footage from that trip is going to be a part of a much bigger project very soon. Big thanks to Alaska Floats and Skis for making this series possible, and a huge shout out to Chris Palmer from the online ground school and YouTube channel Angle of Attack, as well as everyone else in our crew that contributed to this series, including Parker and Don for successfully stepping me through the Seaplane course. We're working on some awesome content that's in the pipeline for this year, and I encourage you to click subscribe and ring that notification bell if you haven't, so you don't miss out on this upcoming content. And as always, you know the drill. I want you to stay happy, healthy, current, and most importantly, stay proficient. Never stop learning, never stop improving. This is Josh signing off on this Alaska Float Flying Series. Fly safe.